Good evening, and I call to order the special meeting of council for May 30th, 2022, starting at 5:32 p.m. At this time, I'd like to confirm the agenda. Are there any emergent items other than what's on the presented agenda from any of the councillors? Seeing none and hearing none, I'd like to get a motion to confirm the agenda as presented. Deputy Mayor Montgomery, thank you. So we have a motion from Deputy Mayor Montgomery to confirm the agenda as presented. All in favor? And that motion is carried. We have no tabled or referred reports, and that brings us to item 4.1, Alberta Municipalities Resolution, Provincial Indigenous Awareness Training and Support. And I believe Councillor Peterson would like to speak to this in her presentation.
Your Worship, would you like me just to start with a motion and then people could go into discussion and questions?
Sure.
So I would move that the town of Strathmore bring forth the resolution entitled Provincial Indigenous Awareness Training and Support for consideration at the 2022 Alberta Municipalities Convention in the fall. I don't have the date, sorry, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. So that'll be at the Alberta Municipalities Conference then?
At AUMA.
Okay, thank you very much. So we have a motion. Sure, speak to it.
If I could speak to the motion, Your Worship. So this is related to the discussions that have been ongoing that originated with Siksika Councillor Herman Yellowwood in 2015, where they talked about the necessity of bringing lived experience voices into the education system. And the reasoning behind that was that there was, as there is until very recently, a lot of conversation about deficits in our curriculum in terms of how we related issues of Indigenous history in this country, and that there was just a significant deficit, particularly of authentic voices, persons with lived experience. And so in that beginnings of that initiative, of that Siksika Strathmore initiative that we developed, one of the satellites in that was education, and myself and Susan Solway are the remaining people sitting on that at this time, and Ruben Breaker. And I'm not sure, maybe yourself, Your Worship, I'm not sure. But anyway, one of the things that continued from this, and again, in conversations with Butch Wolflake, who did our training, was this small thing that we could accomplish to urge our provincial government to envelope funding in Alberta education for schools, jurisdiction, and homeschoolers to be able to access those authentic voices in terms of the learning and support for curriculum. So for instance, today we have in the Alberta curriculum, Blackfoot language and culture, we have Aboriginal studies. But one of the things that teachers have said to me over the last 4 years of consultation with the CRC is that they do not have funding or access to bring in those authentic voices to speak to these issues. And so in order to get proper sentiment, as Butch said to us over and over, right understandings and sound and solid information, having access to these people is very, very critical in the Truth and Reconciliation and the UNDRIP process. And so to that end, this resolution has come forward. And I also want to just say that this doesn't require additional funding in education. Throughout my 40 years as an educator, and you'll know this too, Your Worship, that education envelopes money for certain priorities. So for instance, it might be French language instruction, and they'll say 4% of this year's curriculum budget is going to go to enhancing French language instruction. So they have, and I can remember in my 40 years, it has applied to women in administration, to developing leadership skills in jurisdictions, to enhancing rural technology support. So it doesn't mean an addition to the funding that already exists. So we're not asking taxpayers to pay more money to this end. We're just asking for mindfulness around dedicating something that they would determine would be reasonable to allow schools and jurisdictions to bring this forward. That's all I have, Your Worship, but I'm certainly prepared to answer questions.
Thank you for that presentation and that clarity on what you're bringing forward. Are there any questions or comments from councillors? I think you've all had it in your agenda package. Any comments or questions from the councillors at home or here? Seeing none and hearing none, I will call the question. We have a motion on the floor. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Thank you.
Your Worship, if I just might add,
Yes.
Rockyford has asked us to forward the motion to them for consideration for seconding.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing that I would also like to add is that I think it's really important that new councillors have an opportunity to bring these issues to the floor. You know, if we get a seconder and it goes forward, I would really like to make sure that our new councillors have the opportunity to speak at on the floor of the AUMA. I think it's really, really a good experience for them to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you to my fellow councillors.
Thank you. And will they have to second it by tomorrow, by May 31st?
No, Kara was able to get an extension. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's awesome, very efficient, and it's much appreciated. So thank you very much for that. And we can reach out to, you said Rockyford?
It is
villages.
Mayor Burke. Yeah,
Mayor
Mayor
Burke
and Rockyford.
Okay, thank you.
And just thank you to Your Worship, to Reuben Breaker, Susan Soloway, former councillor Herman Yellow Old Woman, Chief Vincent Yellow Old Woman, and Butch Wolflag. I really appreciate their input on this.
Well, and thank you.
And a Stokemy as well.
And a Stokemy. Well, thank you too. You brought this issue forward in quite a quick way, and our staff was able to jump on it and do a really good job.
Our staff was amazing. Yeah, our staff was really amazing on this. I'm very appreciative.
Thank you very much. CAO Scoble, if you could pass along our thanks to all the staff members who made this happen so quickly. Thank you. We don't have any in-camera items tonight, so at this time I'll adjourn the meeting at 5:39. Meeting adjourned. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.